Well, we don't know what exact sanctions are going to be implied in revoking this special status. There are quite a number of outcomes here. The first thing is that it makes it more difficult for US business to work in Hong Kong. Some businesses may be banned from being active in Hong Kong, but the main concern is probably visa restrictions. So it may become that it's like applying for visas to enter China rather than visas to enter into Hong Kong. That's the first instance. The second one, in the worst case, it may be that US banks are forced to withdraw from Hong Kong, and that would be a fairly dramatic worst case scenario. Another impact is that fund managements where indexes currently include Hong Kong stocks, H shares may be impacted. The ability of American capital markets to access Hong Kong capital markets may be impacted as well. So that means that there may be a hindrance in capital flows into Hong Kong as a result of sanction activity undertaken by the United States. At this stage, we don't know exactly what it's likely to look like, but these are some of the potentials. Of course, one of the plus sides is an increase in relisting activities from Chinese stocks that are currently listed in the United States. Now, Alibaba and Tencent have already flagged that they're interested in relisting on the Hong Kong exchange and moving away from the United States exchange. This may accelerate that process. But it's important to remember that the city would still be treated as an independent customs territory by the WTO and as a separate entity by other institutions such as the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. We think that Hong Kong becomes more like Shanghai, and that's an inevitable process. The cross-connect capital markets make it easier to do business directly in China, so Hong Kong becomes a little bit less relevant than it used to be. It increases the reintegration within the Chinese economy, and that's a good thing for Greater China. It also increases Greater Bay Area integration as well. So in terms of the overall impact, it helps grow the Hong Kong economy by integration with the Chinese economy to a much greater extent. Yes, there will be some impacts in terms of international investment, but that's more likely to flow now directly into China rather than via Hong Kong. The main impact on those companies would be in relation to tariffs. So if tariffs were imposed, then this would have a significant impact because there's about 66 billion US dollars at risk. Now, 50 billion US dollars of that is exports from the United States to Hong Kong. The remainder is exports from Hong Kong to the United States. It's going to impact on the ease of doing business, and that's probably one of the major impacts. In the past, it's very easy for anyone to fly into Hong Kong, fly out of Hong Kong. There's no great visa process that's involved. If US sanctions or US moves increase the need for visas, then that will slow down the ease of doing business in Hong Kong. And anything that slows down the ease of doing business is a negative. I think the primary motivation here is that it's another tool for the Trump's anti-China re-election campaign. This is what I think it will be primarily used for. They feel they need to take some action. It's convenient to take large action at this stage, or at least to make a lot of noise about it. Hong Kong is part of China. That's an irreversible fact. Hong Kong has had a great deal of freedom. We are now moving into a situation where China is moving slowly to bring Hong Kong stability that it hasn't had for the last 6 months. And we can compare this, for instance, to the reactions that are taking place in the United States at the moment in relation to widespread civil unrest. Here, the reaction, the pushback is much, much stronger than what we saw in Hong Kong. Business doesn't like it when you can't get to your office, when you can't do the work, when you're trying to move through a riotous situation. No society can put up with that. How societies choose to deal with that, China does not interfere in the American reaction, and certainly we would ask America not to interfere in the Chinese reaction to restore civil order.